Lehrer. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. You know, this whole thing about revolving around the sun and turning around on the axis, it's getting to be a little bit of a drag. But I think we'll keep it up for the time being. Plenty of things happening on planet Earth that need sunrise and sunset to keep things going. Actually, that reminds me, thinking of sunrise and sunset. Did everybody see the Fiddler on the Roof yesterday? Although there was some other terminology being bandied about as well. Donald Trump decided to spend some time on the roof of the White House yesterday, late morning, early afternoon, right about. I guess that was the first thing they confronted me after finishing up the show and working on post-production to get things out and published. And I don't know. Trump decided to take a tour of the roof, walking around on the roof of what is the press briefing area, I think, in the West Wing, and shouting to reporters, and reporters shouting him questions, and I don't know. Some of this was actually audible, some of it not. I guess no official word on what the hell he was doing up there, but he seemed to be surveying something, and I'm wondering whether that's the only expanse available to him that doesn't change the White House grounds, that he could, is he thinking of like reinforcing the roof there and building his dream ballroom on top of the press briefing area of the West Wing? I suppose you could add a second floor to that. I don't know what he was doing, but he's shouting about something. At one point he's shouting about nuclear missiles to the waiting reporters. I don't know whether we got any clear idea of what he was doing up there, and who knows? It doesn't even matter. Suppose they had made an announcement. Would that be tomorrow, the next day? Would that be the same thing? Would they stick to that plan? No one knows. Is that the sort of thing he would taco out of? Not quite in the same category, but, you know, he's got the attention span of a gnat, so no real way of knowing whether these plans are going to survive from day to day. All right. Well, we've got that going on, which is fun and fantastic. We've got action in and around Texas and Illinois, where half of Texas has gone, to avoid being around for the other half of Texas, which is looking to ruin the rest of Texas by redistricting everything. And other states trying to join in on the, I don't know what you would call it, but I heard that Missouri was thinking of redistricting, even though it sounded like they were only going to net one more seat, and that even Indiana, which is already pretty much gerrymandered to the max, was also entertaining the same idea. And where they're going to get an extra couple of seats, I actually I don't know. But maybe Greg Dworkin does, and he's here, and you'll know it by the margarine you eat at your breakfast table. Greg Dworkin, Imperial news gathering guy. I can't believe it's news, we could say to him. Good morning,
I can't
Greg.
believe it's not butter.
It isn't. That I believe. I just can't believe what's in the news. And, well, that's sort of the hallmark of the Trump era.
Yeah, you know, I think, and this is my impression only, just hearing about it the way you heard about it. Mm. If Trump was on the roof of the White House,
yes,
I have to presume he's surveying his kingdom to decide where else to pave. Mm-hmm. If he could pave over everything that's beautiful, yes, he would. He's already done the Rose Garden, which is the first thing that's going to be redone as soon as he's out of there.
I assume so. But I think the outdoor space was, well, it's tradition, and it was a huge relief for most people who are into it.
Slap in the face to Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't know. It was very. I thought maybe someone had told Stephen Miller, you need to touch grass. And he said, oh, yeah, well, I'll show you. And they ripped everything up, paved it over, and made a large patio. And interestingly, they chose a border, like drainage border, that disguised the grates of this drainage area with a flag motif. Like the stripes of the flag are the grates of the drainage area, which is hugely respectful, I think.
Yeah. Well, just so long as Mickey Mantle doesn't tear up his knee. I mean, that's the main thing.
That ought to be the measure of everything. So
if you have a drainage system, you don't want that.
No. Right. Well, it's I don't know. We'll see if we can figure out at some point. I guess he'll announce something that will explain why he was up there. Because going outdoors,
he'll do anything so that you don't talk about Jeffrey Epstein, which, by the way, is on the front page of the New York Times again today. Story still continues. It simmers whether or not they have an angle on it. We've moved on from let's talk about what's going on with Trump and what he says. And we're now in now let's do a deep dive here, and that's going to take a couple of days. So instead of daily stories, there's every few days stories or every other day stories. Some of them still make the front page. Did you know this about Jeffrey Epstein? You probably didn't.
Maybe.
Here are pictures of his townhouse. Here is even more about what a rat he was. And isn't it amazing that Ghislaine Maxwell wound up being moved to a Texas, dormitory from a maximum security prison? When asked about it, he said, I don't know anything about it. I don't do government. And then Ghislaine Maxwell apparently told NBC News, I told him I didn't see Trump do anything bad. He didn't do it right in front of my eyes. In other words, I wasn't invited. So, what does that lawyerly response mean? Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that one. I think I forget what the terminology is.
Did I know about it? I know all about it. I know where all the tapes are. Did I see it? Right. No, I didn't.
I closed the doors. I wouldn't want to see that.
So I'm just telling you what I saw, and I didn't see anything.
Right. And I think she said something like, I never saw him do anything alarming, maybe, or was that she used some particular terminology.
But you'd have to do a lot to alarm me.
Yeah, that's exactly what freaks out Ghislaine Maxwell, international child sex trafficker. Not sure. But all right, yeah. Even this whole thing is really about his association with Epstein as much as it is what he may or may not have done himself.
Right, and by the way, if he's in there to break the deep state and get rid of all the pedophiles, what's he doing being nice to a pedophile? So
no idea.
The story goes on and on and on, mostly because of his doing. But let's not talk more about Epstein right now. Let's talk about hate.
Okay.
And so here's a song about hate that I love, and it's one of Tom Lehrer's pieces, of course. So let's do National Brotherhood Week, one of his famous ones. Again, this is from the show That Was the Week That Was, and his album That Was the Year That Was. He wrote the music for that very satirical, wonderful show that ran about 2 seasons, maybe 3, and was wonderful at the time in the 60s, and let's play it.
Okay. You know what occurs to me as this retrospective goes on? We ought to counter the Epstein program. As long as Epstein's in the news, and I want him to stay in the news, we can keep Tom Lehrer in the news, just as a remedy in case it gets you down. All right.
Yeah,
so
Tom
National Brotherhood Week.
The white folks hate the black folks, and the black folks hate the white folks. To hate all but the right folks is an old established rule, but during National Brotherhood Week, see Cassius Clay and Mrs. Wallace dancing cheek to cheek. It's fun to eulogize the people you despise, as long as you don't let them in your school.
Still relevant today.
My, oh my.
Oh, the poor folks hate the rich folks, and the rich folks hate the poor folks. All of my folks hate all of your folks. It's American as apple pie. But during National Brotherhood Week, New Yorkers love the Puerto Ricans 'cause it's very chic. Step up and shake the hand of someone you can't stand. You can tolerate him if you try. Oh, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. But during National Brotherhood Week, it's National Everyone Smile at One Another Hood Week. Be nice to people who are inferior to you. It's only for a week, so have no fear. Be grateful that it doesn't last all year.
All righty. Well
the
once
music
again.
is so bouncy.
Yes, and so you can say just about anything to it. That's the trick of it, right? Like when we were media trained, you just keep smiling and nodding, and no matter what you say, it's you're allowed.
Yeah. And you too can be a blonde Fox News pundit,
right.
just smile and nod and, go along with it.
No problem. All right, always a good addition and getting a good education in his repertoire. And
ultra.
It's got to be at least a good balance to the Epstein news.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
This is Lehrer number 72.
Yeah.
Herschel number 93. Opus 8, whatever. But the guy was a genius, and it's so funny to look at 1960 and now and say, not that much has changed. Everybody still hates the Jews.
Yeah, well, largely the case. Pretty much nailed it, and that's part of the genius of it, and to have been doing it then, which I guess at some point might have been a bit shocking, although clearly
it was a little on the edge in those days.
Yeah. But not that wasn't the headlines. Everyone knew what was going on, and that was, I guess, the relief from it was, okay, well, he's admitting it openly, but in song, and we can all applaud.
Right, so it's a beginning.
Okay.
So let's talk about some 2025 dislike, if
That's
not
now.
hate.
Yes.
There's a Republican representative from Nebraska by the name of Mike Flood.
Yes.
And we talked about him on the show because the last time he tried doing one of these town meetings, everybody showed up and started booing him because he said, don't blame me for this Republican one big beautiful bill, which I think is wonderful. I never read it. I just voted for it.
Okay. Michael Boo.
So it's not my fault. I'm off the hook.
No, but I guess you can
I didn't
say
read
that,
it, so
right?
I didn't know what was in it. So you can't blame me for voting against something you hate because, because I didn't even know what it was.
Okay, I can see where
but you
that
all
would
should
go
love
over
it.
big.
You all should love it. So now he goes back to his constituency, and despite being told not to, he does another town hall, and he gets booed.
They got instructions.
This is New York Times.
Okay.
The GOP congressman faced his voters. It wasn't pretty. Most Republican lawmakers are avoiding town hall meetings, reluctant to confront energized Democrats and answer tough questions.
Well,
when Mike Flood in Nebraska gave it a try, the booing started in seconds. Earlier this year, Richard Hudson in North Carolina, the chairman of the House Republican campaign arm, discouraged members from holding in-person town halls. The sessions are being filled with Democratic activists, generated negative headlines. A better way would be to hold telephone town halls where moderators could filter the question.
Yeah, hang up on people. Okay.
Right. So of the 35 House Republicans who hold seats that Democrats are targeting in 2026, only one, Representative Brian Steele of Washington, has held an in-person town hall, and he too was booed and jeered. But the concerns over the bill and the economy appear to be so widespread they can't be screened out, even in the controlled environment of teletown halls. See, the point of this is not to enjoy the fact that Flood is squirming, although you can get your jollies on that.
Oh.
The point is that Democrats, in fact, are energized. People are upset. Not everybody at these meetings are Democrats, but everybody's jeering and booing, which gives you an idea of what's going on. And, of course, because his name is Mike Flood, that just opens the door to all sorts of headlines, like Jamie Dupre, for example, regular writer. GOP representative faces flood of town hall catcalls. See what I did there?
I see it.
Trump opts for his own facts again on jobs report. Flooded. Most GOP new lawmakers aren't going anywhere near a town hall audience over the August break, but Mike Flood took that chance in Lincoln, Nebraska. The veteran GOP congressman lived to tell about it, but only after being heckled constantly for 90 minutes. And the things that they heckled him on: the big, beautiful bill, tariffs, jobs report, Epstein.
Well,
why are you covering up the Epstein files? One person asked. Spending.
Yeah.
Was there a viral moment? Might have been the closest thing. Why'd you cut SNAP? And healthcare research. Flood was asked, we don't have unlimited money, an answer which produced a tsunami of boos and yelling. And then, the usual GOP garbage. What I'm telling you is that it's not working. The GOP garbage about we're cutting all of this so that we can preserve spending for those who really need it. Elon Musk and his buddies.
Yeah, I guess so. They're the ones who they know what to do with money, so we might as well just give it all to them. They already have a bunch, so it's no inconvenience.
Right. Joe Perticone in The Bulwark, according to a Kaiser Family Foundation poll released at the end of July, more than half the nation's independents, remember, independents win and lose elections, believe the policies in the budget will hurt them and their families. And beyond that, almost two-thirds of Americans hold a negative opinion of the plan Trump signed. These numbers are a big reason Flood's town hall stands out. Republicans across the country anticipate receiving similar treatment should they attempt to meet voters. Nebraska's first congressional district, which Flood won handily in 2024, is not the kind of place the party wants to be getting that kind of heat as it starts to look ahead to next year's midterms. Talk about that in a minute. Here's a poll by Equus Research, not EQUUS, EQUIS Research, shows signs that Trump's businessman image may be eroding among Latinos, and they're losing faith in his ability to handle the economy.
Latinos specifically.
Yeah, this is specifically Latinos.
Are they only interviewing them, or do white people still think he's a good businessman?
Among registered Latinos nationally, they did a poll to see where things stand.
All right. What's up, Latinos?
And all Latinos, not a good businessman, 44. No longer a good businessman. This is the interesting one.
He was
19.
All right. That's an interesting
And
one.
a good businessman, 34.
Yeah.
Now, they broke that down further and said, okay, what if you voted for Biden in 2020 but Trump in 2024?
Okay.
Of the people who voted for Trump in 2024, 18% said they didn't think he was a good businessman but voted for him anyway.
All right.
30% changed their mind and said, I thought he was a good businessman. Now I don't think so.
Huh.
And 50%, more than the all Latinos, think he's a good businessman.
Yes, 50% of people who voted
for Biden and then changed their mind think he's a good businessman. So he's got time to erode that even further, and he
that's
will.
Good. Well, okay.
Next, they point out, as Trump discontent grows, a third of Latinos who supported him in November are not set on voting for Republican in 2026.
Okay.
If you lose a third of your voters, you're going to be in trouble. It doesn't mean Democrats automatically are doing great. Trump disapproval hasn't transferred altogether into support for Democrats, but there's an opportunity here. And that's really the point.
Certainly. Okay.
By the way, Latinos strongly favor increasing taxes for billionaires and big corporations over cutting social programs.
Okay.
And
nice.
what do Latinos want lawmakers to prioritize when it comes to the economy? Lower everyday costs, groceries and healthcare.
Yeah.
What's not getting lowered?
Groceries
and healthcare.
Right. Taxes for people who already have too much money, lower. Prices for people who don't have enough, higher.
Right. So this is Swin Swepsang and Andrew Perez writing in Rolling Stone.
Yes.
Donald Trump tries to spin and purge his way to declaring economic victory. It's not working.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
Why not?
Late last week, Donald Trump realized the dream he's had since he was president of the United States, firing the person who informed the world his economy isn't as great as he wants it to be. So he fired her. It was a move so comically autocratic that Erdogan of Turkey tried that in 2022.
Oh, okay. I see. I thought he was going to laugh.
According to former senior Trump administration officials, during his first term in office, the president would repeatedly complain about the numbers. Things only got worse as the 2020 presidential election neared, when he and his White House embarked on a frenzied cover-up and propaganda campaign, such as pressuring the Center for Disease Control to dial down COVID body counts.
Right.
And he still had a lot to do. But in poll after poll in recent months, the American public has been screaming at the Trump administration and Representative Mike Flood, I would add, that his policies have not improved or have actually hurt their day-to-day lives. The key issue that put Trump back in the White House, a brutal economy reflecting the aftershocks of the coronavirus pandemic, an end to aid programs, and the increasingly punishing state of American capitalism, is still putting many millions of Americans through hell. That economy now belongs to Trump, who keeps throttling it with his chaos-driven tariff regime, and the voters have noticed. According to a new survey from UMass Amherst, Trump's poll numbers have fallen through the floor.
Off the roof.
As our friend Bill in Portland, Maine points out, therefore Trump wants to fire University of Massachusetts Amherst. The survey puts his approval rating at 38%, with 58% disapproving. Less than two-thirds of respondents said Trump has handled inflation or tariffs well. 37% of people said he's handled jobs well, though that was before a weak jobs report. His independents are exceptionally poor. 21% approval, 17% saying he's handled inflation well.
Well, yeah. No, he hasn't, and I don't know where the 17 are coming from, but super fans, no doubt.
Right. With inflation remaining a persistent problem, says the poll, a weakening job market, and tariffs causing economic upheaval in the stock market and corporate boardrooms, it's no surprise majorities of Americans believe Trump has done a poor job in handling inflation, jobs, and tariffs. Time will tell whether his efforts to pass the buck will alter the public's perceptions of Trump's economic performance, or if Americans will continue to believe the buck stops with President Trump. But, it doesn't work.
No.
You may remember Trump was going to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for stopping all violence in the Middle East. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, and also I think he's up to 17 wars now he's ended.
Well, it didn't work. He's not even talking about it anymore, which is how you can tell it didn't work.
That's true. I haven't heard him say he was going to win the prize or that he deserved it in quite some time.
Yeah, in at least a week, so.
That's a while.
Oh, he's obviously a shoo-in for the... No. I mean, some of the stuff they say is just so stupid. They must be talking only to their own constituents. These influencers must be talking only to the people who listen to them. And then when they find out that didn't get a good review, they just move on and pretend they never said it. That's how you do these things.
Okay. It's A/B testing for them.
But, for pundits, that's not unusual. We've talked for years about the fact that pundits never apologize for getting 50% of what they say wrong.
Yes. And I'm sorry that we don't talk about it more. So we're covered. I feel like not a pundit.
Right.
So, okay.
Now, here's a different poll.
Oh.
This is just a summary of various and sundry polling. Zach Harmon points out most GOP pollsters that lean GOP are seeing blue shifts in the generic congressional ballot this month.
Aha. Well, look, you have an acronym for it. GCB.
Yeah.
I like it.
CBGB.
Is that in wide use, GCB? Well, I'll have to remember that one.
Okay. YMCA. So Fabrizio Lee, that's pollster for Trump, went from neutral to +3 Democrat over the last month. McLaughlin, +5
I see.
Republican to +3 Democrat. That's an 8-point shift for McLaughlin. Qantas, most of them are moving Democrat. A couple aren't. Qantas +1 to +2 Democrat. RMG +8 to +4 Republican, 4-point Democratic pickup. Big Data, that's the name of a poll, +2 to +1 Republican. +2 to +1 Democrats. That's a 3-point swing. Echelon Insights, +1 Republican to +1 Democrat. Then there's two. Signal, Democrats lose a point. And Atlas Intel, Democrats lose 4 points. Fairly accurate pollster, but interestingly, they had a +12 Democratic generic ballot.
Wow.
Now it's only +8 Democrat generic ballot. So you have to assume that's a bit of an outlier and they're just correcting. But for the most part, what I'm trying to say is that the anger that you see at Representative Mike Flood,
I see it. I've heard it.
Is being reflected in the polls about Trump's performance. It's being reflected in the generic ballot, as G. Elliott Morris has pointed out. At this stage in the cycle, this is usually just about the high point of in-party approval, and it's just downhill from here. So if you're starting with a 3-point Democratic lead in the generic ballot, it's likely to actually become more favorable to Democrats over time, particularly given the fact that Trump's incompetent and he doesn't know how to manage the economy. Things are going to get worse, and prices are only going to get worse because the tariffs are starting to catch up with us.
Yes.
So I would just point all of that out.
Okay. Well, look, I hope this trend continues. Mike Flood doesn't. Yeah, had a lousy time. Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln,
I mean,
Nebraska.
So.
Now, Lincoln, Nebraska is a relatively liberal part of a conservative district.
Yeah.
But
it's his district.
It's his district, and that district, is should be safe for him. It's not.
Yes. Is that?
I mean, I don't mean voting. He'll win. He generally wins fairly big there, but it's not safe for him to go out and talk to people.
Yeah. Well, he was
He'll
safe. He just had to get yelled at.
He'll get flooded.
Yeah. And I was thinking that's
which is the new term for getting yelled at a.
Oh. Well, good. Yeah, that works very well.
Because I just made it up. But if you go to a town hall, you're going to get flooded.
You will. And that's why, that's just why they're not doing it. I'm curious what drives him to continue to do that. He seems to sort of put on a show that he's almost thriving on it. He's very
I don't
clear.
think when you see him perform, I don't think that's the case. It's not like he's a skilled, Pete Buttigieg, I'll take any question kind of thing.
But
it's more like I'm too dumb to really understand what's going on, so I'm sticking to my script no matter what.
Yeah, I don't know, but I've seen him stand up there and he prefaces things like, now we're going to disagree on this, but something.
Yeah, all the old scripts that used to work 10 years ago, they're not working.
That's true. In fact, one of the things I saw him answer was on a question on healthcare, and apparently he asks the people, well, listen, I'm doing this reform on healthcare with the Republicans. I mean, do you think people who are like 28 years old that can work but refuse to work should get free healthcare? And apparently everyone in the crowd said, yeah, of course, yeah.
Of course you should. Everybody should get free healthcare.
It just doesn't work the way it used to. He was probably shocked by that, and funny, good. So
right now, all of this has been a lead-in to talk about the Texas redistricting.
Excellent, good. Yeah, we need to do that, and we'll give them 2 minutes to get themselves to another state.
Right, because you have to understand the state of GOP popularity before you look at that.
Mm-hmm. And they don't appear to understand that. They're making all sorts of threats about this time.
And assumptions.
It's happened 10 times. That's true, too. Let's catch everybody up, then, in 2 minutes' time on this development.
Hi everybody, this is Scott Anderson, your summary guy. Were you looking forward to an egalitarian democracy free of bigotry, misogyny, racism, and greed, where people of different appearances, belief, and heritage had a right to live without fear, and everyone could expect a basic level of health, stability, and safety throughout their life? Well, too bad. The plain fact is that we're heading in the wrong direction. And where we once had a voice in such things, increasingly we don't. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. However, if you're looking to join people who understand today's issues and can intelligently address the reality of today from your point of view, you can join us at Kagro in the morning. As you know, there aren't many of us out there, at least compared to them. We need to stick together, and by that I mean send us money. That is contributions to patreon.com, secure, reoccurring contributions. Those contributions keep this show on the air and us together. We've been through a lot together. The temporary loss of the presidency, we hope. The temporary loss of the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, we hope. Face it, we are pretty much all that we have left. Remember, we couldn't do it without you, and you shouldn't do it without us. We're in this together, so thanks.
All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. The Mike Flood Show. Boo! Well, whatever. He continues to do this. I found some video of it, so maybe I'll play it later on, just so you can hear all the people booing and yelling at him, and that's fun.
Right. Now, before we start off talking about the Texas redistricting, I did want to point out that today's Wednesday, therefore there may have been an election somewhere on a Tuesday in the United States. And in fact, there were several, very nicely summarized by Bolt's magazine. And I sent a link for the details.
Frankenstein.
There was, mayoral race in Detroit. Some of these places, like Detroit, have jungle primaries, so top two vote getters, no matter what party.
All right. Yeah, all right.
Get to go. But I think there'll be a Republican and a Democrat in the Detroit mayoral race, but the one that won't be there is James Craig, former police chief, former unsuccessful running for governor. He loses a lot of elections in Michigan. I think that's his business. That's what he does for a living, is lose elections in Michigan.
Hey, do you know Mike Flood? I want to get the two of you together.
Yeah. So Taniel tweeted about some of these results, and they were fairly interesting, but he's got a Bolts magazine summary. And one of the things that is of note is the Delaware and Rhode Island state house general elections.
Delaware and Rhode Island.
Delaware had a House district open. Now, this is interesting. Kamala Harris carried the district by 9 percentage points, but the Democrat Stelby resigned due to health reasons after she had a prolonged absence.
I see.
So there was a special election to fill it, and the Democrat held the seat. The first time Selby ran, or the last time Selby ran, or the only time Selby ran, I don't know how often she's been there, but the one that just resigned, she won. She held the seat, so it was not her first election. She held the seat by 250 votes.
Oh, so close and this was Harris by 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yesterday, 9%. Democrat Alana Berry became Delaware's newest members of the General Assembly. She won by 121 votes.
Well, now it should be noted that there's only about 121 people in Delaware. It's one of those smaller states. It's not. So
this is she beat Republican named Nikki Miller, who lost again.
Okay.
And so it seems like a fairly swingy district with those kind of numbers.
It's close, I guess.
Right.
Well, Kamala Harris was extraordinarily popular there, it seems.
Now,
unless they meant she won by 9 votes.
In Rhode Island, Democrat Stefano Familetti, lawyer and North Providence town councilor, won by 66 points.
Okay.
I think that maybe I have to go look it up, and maybe something like an 11 plus Harris district. So it's nothing. That's an incredible overperformance, and one of the biggest overperformances in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Harris carried the district by 11 points last fall, second biggest overperformance for Democrats so far this year. So for the most part, what I'm saying is not only are Democrats doing okay in the polls, they're doing okay in special elections.
Yeah, that's
true. And then we'll, if we're looking for the general election proof of concept here, the Virginia race doesn't look especially close at this point.
Well, that's not special. It's just regular. Good, and I hope it stays that way. Don't get bored or stay home or anything like that. But Sears was not a great candidate ever for anybody's purposes, and
I hope she keeps running. I think it's great.
Bad for, I think they're stuck with her now.
So
what's so great about
Republicans and Trump in particular and his team, because he's not that smart and he doesn't know anything, looked around and said, the environment isn't so great for us. How about we rig the game? Let's try to do, instead of every 10-year redistricting when you have the census results to bolster what you're doing and try to be fair, why don't we redistrict now?
Again.
We won't wait for the census results. We'll simply try to make Republican majority districts where we can. Let's start with Texas because we run everything in Texas, and
we do
it's
this
big.
all the time there. This is
and if they do it, we can maybe pick up 5 House seats.
Right. Is it? Would you say this is this? Have they done this more than twice? This is like mid-census redistricting for Republicans in Texas has famously been a thing in the past. And they just keep doing it.
I really don't know the history, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
So unlike many pundits, I'm not going to pretend I do. And I don't know how often they've done it in other places, but it's certainly not the first time it's ever been done.
No, and I know it's not the first time that it's been done in Texas. They did this before. This was like a Tom DeLay idea, and it was shocking, and that was like the first time everybody said, it doesn't say you can't redistrict more often. It's just, it's such a pain in the ass. Most people don't want to redistrict until they have to. But if
Right.
you want to cheat and get more seats, well, that's something. So they've done this before. I just don't know whether they did it a third time in the interim
Right.
or not.
In the meantime, they're looking at Missouri, they're looking at Indiana, they're looking at Ohio, and in response to that, the Democrats are saying, "We hate this. This is a bad idea. But if you're going to do it, we're going to do it." So they're looking at California, New York, maybe Illinois, a couple other places, trying to match whatever the Republicans are doing, simply to say, "Don't do it. It would be a bad idea." And Mike Madrid, who is the Latino vote guru, said, here's an interesting thing. In the end, it may not happen as quickly as you think, because the panic happening among blue state congressional Republicans in California and New York might be the only thing that saves the country from redistricting Armageddon.
I see.
Mike Lawler would lose. He wanted to run for governor, found the polls weren't so good, so he decided to stay in Congress. Stefanik, Lawler, these guys are at risk.
Yeah, they
and
are.
They may lose everything in trying to vote for Trump's agenda. Same thing with Republicans in California. So there's that. People are pushing back. Elisa Slotkin wants Democrats in blue states to go nuclear, saying, I don't want to do this. I want the country to have a completely nonpartisan drawing of the lines based on the census. So do it every 10 years. But if they're going to do it and they're going to go nuclear, I'm okay with that. We'll do it too.
Okay.
Kathy Hochul said the same thing. So what I'm saying is Elisa Slotkin and Kathy Hochul aren't far-left Bernie bros.
What? They're not? Oh, no.
They're centrists.
Yeah.
What I'm saying
so
is if the centrists are saying we have to do this, that's how bad it's gotten.
Yeah, well, it's really egregious. I had mentioned Indiana only because I thought I saw somebody say yesterday, I think Indiana is already pretty extensively gerrymandered, and I think they're,
but they're literally going for a seat here, a seat there, 5 in Texas.
I think it's 7-2 in Indiana. Like there's 2 Democratic seats. There's really not much to squeeze out.
Right. And again, go back to what I said about the Latino vote souring on Trump. A lot of these new districts that they think that they can create are based on those in South Texas around the Mexican border. So this Politico piece and Mike Madrid's observation about the same thing, comes into play. Republicans bet big on Latino voters in redistricted Texas. The new maps create 4 GOP-leaning majority Hispanic districts in the Lone Star State. That's touching off fierce partisan battle, that about. Texans left the state. Yeah, half of them went to Illinois, but some of them went to New York. And so they're lobbying those states. They're not just leaving Texas to run away. They're lobbying those states to consider doing something else. So the GOP's maps indicate the party is bullish on Latino voters continuing their rightward political shift even without Trump atop the ballot. And it doubles down on a strategy Republicans were already implementing across the country, targeting heavily Hispanic House districts.
Yeah.
But it comes with a lot of risk. Despite shifting toward Trump, Latino voters in Texas and elsewhere were more likely to split their tickets and back down ballot Democrats, and polls show voters have soured on Trump's handling of the economy. Republican strategist Mike Madrid said Trump had the shortest honeymoon ever with these voters.
No one wants to be.
It lasted a couple of months, but the day he started talking tariffs and started rattling financial markets and everything Latinos are voting for, which was overwhelmingly affordability and economic issues, we already went over that, they moved away from him just as rapidly as they moved away from Biden for the exact same reasons. So the point is, Texas may do this and think they're going to win. Texas may do this, and by stretching out the Republican vote, you actually have more districts that are Republican majority, but by smaller amounts.
That's important.
And you run the risk in a wave election of losing everything.
Yeah, everybody gets to be Mike Flood for a day.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they have to find these Republicans somewhere. And I mean, there's certainly some districts where people have Republican votes to spare. But, if there's anything like a wave election, and I mean, even without that, it's just you're talking about taking people who have comfortably won their seats by 7-8 points and making it a 3 to 4 point district and saying, well, you're a Republican and so are they, so you'll definitely win. I don't know.
Right, exactly. So this Politico piece has an interesting observation. Mm-hmm. Republicans are confusing the gains Trump, the individual, made with support for the Republican Party, said Matt Barretto, who polled Latino voters for the Biden-Harris campaign.
Yes, okay.
There is a Trump effect that's not transferable to Republicans. Polling shows some Latinos have soured on Trump. We talked about this.
Right.
In Texas in particular, said Dan Sena, former executive director of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the DCCC. In Texas in particular, Hispanic voters are more loyal. This guy must be East Coaster, using the term Hispanic, interchangeably with Latino.
Right.
In Texas in particular, Hispanic voters are more loyal to their paychecks in Texas than they are to a party. That's just part of the appeal of Trump. But when he's not on the ticket, some of that support erodes. The proposed seats do not present easy pickup opportunities for Democrats. We already saw that in that poll. Mike Madrid, the Republican strategist, said Democrats should work on their own message after several consecutive elections of losing ground. Where Democrats failed in the past is not having an aspirational, uplifting economic agenda. Latinos don't believe Democrats deliver to working class people. They have to get back to a working class economic message that's not just about government spending. You know who's doing that, by the way?
No.
Who's running for New York City mayor?
Is there a contest there?
There is.
Is it Curtis Lewa?
And so you don't have to adapt
Zohran
Mamdani's entire agenda, but the aspirational aspects that he does so well in talking about affordability is absolutely, positively something Democrats everywhere should adopt. He is better at talking about it than your average Democratic consultant message polling focused group garbage that nobody thinks is authentic.
I don't even know why people
go out and eat some street food.
I guess, right. And there's probably really good street food in every area of Texas.
Right. If it's too hot and you have to go indoors, fine.
I mean,
but do it.
The wealthy sections where they don't allow you to park trucks on the street. No. But elsewhere, yes. And it's not hard, and there's no weird trick to it. It sucks to have to try to afford things, and no matter where you're coming from as a candidate, even if you're a relatively wealthy business person trying to reach out to the working classes, you've got to be realizing how much gas is costing your campaign, right?
Exactly. Listen, this is how this Politico piece ends. Everything we know about Latino voters tells us they are highly persuadable and have in the last few election cycles made decisions based on who they believe will address their economic concerns and priorities, said Melissa Morales, president of Somos Votantes, a Democratic-aligned group that focuses on Latino voters.
So they're normal.
The mega point here is that reporters cannot bring themselves to say, look, Trump's economic policies suck. Tariffs don't work. This is going to fail. And because it's going to fail, you can't use, what if Trump succeeds and wins? Democrats will have to fight uphill against it. That's not what's happening. Trump is winning these voters with Democrats because his policies suck and they're not going to work.
Right.
Of course, reporters can't say that. I can say that.
I don't know why not, but all right. Well, they can interview people who will say that. They could.
Yeah, and they should. They should do that a whole lot more.
Like Zohran Mamdani does. Just go and ask.
This is the New York Times version of the same stories. Wow. The Republican Party is going to lose a lot of votes around here, said Ricardo Sandoval, 35, a trucking and warehousing businessman in Laredo who supported Trump in November. Mr. Sandoval said he agreed with Trump's campaign promises for tax cut, tariffs on China, immigration crackdown along the border, and now he feels he was misled. The roller coaster of on-again, off-again tariffs has depressed cross-border trade, upended his business, pushed prices up, and forced him to lay off more than a dozen employees. His immigration enforcement has been disrespectful to the thousands of Hispanics who supported him, Mr. Sandoval said, and he said the Republicans' redistricting effort in Texas was an unethical way to try to hold on to power. There's a sense of betrayal, he said. And recent polling has suggested the misgivings like Mr. Sandoval's might be spreading among Hispanic voters, especially those who say they are feeling the impact of rising prices for groceries and imported goods, as well as a slowdown in the labor market. People in South Texas are not happy with how this administration is handling things, said Representative Vicente Gonzalez, a Democrat who narrowly won re-election last year in a border district that Republicans hope to redraw. In 2024, Mr. Trump made remarkable inroads. Now Republicans want to press the advantage, and they think they're going to win on transgender rights, the Republicans. That's what they say in this article.
Yes, right. We almost forgot that they were going to.
Democrats say it's not happening. People are angry. We're going to win. So again, the Republicans are taking a big chance in doing this. It's just amazing how, sometimes wrong but never in doubt they are about this.
Yeah.
And there doesn't seem to be any pushback among Republicans because this is what Trump wants. That's the most frustrating thing. Even when they know they're going to lose, even when they know it's stupid, they do it anyway because they're afraid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess maybe they are also convinced, well, if I do lose my seat, I can always become a Fox News pundit or something like that.
Yeah, I've been promised the job afterwards.
Yeah.
As some consultant or lobbyist or something, or somebody who has, I forget what the current rights are for ex-Congress members who become lobbyists to actually be on the congressional floor, because they seem to be in the House a lot.
Yeah. Well, former members do get floor privileges, and I think they've retained that. I don't know if they ever really got rid of that. So, why people are like, oh, you're a lobbyist and you used to be in Congress. You know what you're talking about. Wait a minute. Why aren't you still in Congress if you know what you're talking about? And of course they say, yeah, the truth is I got clobbered like Mike Flood or whatever. But they, instead say, well, I'm making so much more money now. And you can too if you just vote the right way.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm going to send you a piece that I hadn't sent before, which I thought was just worthy of a comment. And first time, long time listener, but I have a comment more than a question for you, David.
Yes.
This is in regard to something that Michael Smerconish said.
Okay. A
conservative who fancies himself a centrist, who tries to be both sides about everything. And he said, I'm going to give some advice to the Democratic Party. I don't know if he said Democrat Party, but he might as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to give some advice. They really should praise Trump some of the time. It's good politics, that sort of thing. And Phillips O'Brien, the military analyst, said, I just sent this out on Substack, an article entitled Why Praising Trump is Destructive. But on Twitter, he just sums it up in a couple of tweets here.
Okay.
And says, I just sent this out. I've been asked why I never praised Trump. Well, first of all, I don't see any policy that deserves praise.
Yeah. All right. I'm okay with that so far.
However, even if he did something, quote, good, unquote, that's in scare quotes, the whole superstructure of his policies are leading to a disaster that should never be buttressed. This week made that clear. He's deliberately destroying the credibility of the United States for his own glory. Praising him in any way simply feeds that.
Okay.
And so that's his piece. Why praising Trump is destructive, as the last few days made very clear. At other times, people have said he's been good on the Middle East, says O'Brien, which I certainly fail to see. Remember, he's going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. But why? Right. Why aren't you praising him for destroying Iran's nuclear capability? Because it's not destroyed. Or seems to be winning. He set him back without question, but it's not destroyed. Or seems to be winning, quote unquote, as he's forcing other states to pay higher tariffs to send their goods to the U.S., which again I believe is a doubtful benefit to the U.S. and is humiliating for everybody else. Yeah. However, say he did something actually important and good. Imagine Trump finally did put real and crippling sanctions on Russia, that he could no longer accept all the insults and derision that Putin and other Russians have heaped on him. Even then, praising Trump would seem to me counterproductive tactically and morally questionable. Indeed, praising Trump for anything seems to achieve little or nothing beyond demeaning the flatterer, and this last week made it even clearer. For example, Texas redistricting. The Texas redistricting is a blatant attempt by the Republicans, urged on by Trump, to disenfranchise non-Republican voters across the state. It's only happening because Trump urged it in the first place. There was no concept of valuing democracy, of following clearly laid out rules. If Trump could convince Texas Republicans to redraw the map, he would. And this goes beyond normal political self-interest. It's a special and possibly illegal attempt to redraw an already lopsided political map. At present, Republicans control 26 out of 38 seats. By the way, if Democrats do not respond to this by retaliating in kind, they really are one of the worst opposition parties in history.
Yes.
So he goes on to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, why on earth would anybody want to praise Trump? Even if you could find something, it's not productive. I will, after the fact, say George W. Bush's PEPFAR plan was good.
Yeah. Well,
I don't mind saying
nice
that.
Nice plan, bad guy.
His pandemic preparedness plan was good. He did nothing else good. I'm happy to say that. I can't even think of two things that Trump did that were good.
Right. I have not got those. I haven't got a second nickel to rub with this thing. It's easy enough to deal with. I mean, there's all sorts of. We have 10 different idioms in the English language to deal with when a terrible person stumbles into doing something that might be acceptable. Right? Or the blind squirrels come into the equation.
Yeah.
Stopped clocks. Everybody's got so as it's always been rumored that in various languages, you can see the importance of a subject, right? We have many ways of saying this a-hole has bungled into something that isn't the worst thing he's ever done. All right.
So, the title of the pundit roundup today that I had was "Voters Want Fighters, Not Appeasers," and so this whole pundit center-right push to be nice to Trump and we need more, both sides bipartisan, this, that, just garbage. Not now. Voters want fighters, not appeasers. And yes, they would like a sunny economic agenda that lifts you up. But when we talk about sunny agendas, we are not talking about Mike Flood.
No. And this probably seems like a time to shoehorn this. And when I think about the Democrats who have on occasion praised Trump thinking, well, this will buy me some credibility with somebody. And then you say, well, maybe a sunny economic agenda. Cryptocurrency is not going to convince people of the sunniness of the economy. That is a totally separate thing, and everybody has some serious doubts, and it looks like robber barons are stealing all of our money through it, and you shouldn't be lifting it up and saying, see, I'm bipartisan, I'm working with the other side. The other side has his own crypto coin. He's robbing you. It's not helpful for the economy. People aren't going to say, I'm going to become a Bitcoin miner.
Well, I'm just saying Chris Murphy has better standing, better credibility in his state than John Fetterman does in his.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I can't believe that there are rural, even Democratic-leaning Pennsylvanians who are like, well, he's reasonable because every once in a while he agrees with Trump. So that just goes to show he's got an open mind. No. I think we know what's happening by now. And crypto, again, I'm also thinking there's some West Coasters, too, who have been weirdly exploring the idea of cooperating with Trump on certain issues. And I don't know. And at the same time telling us, we have to talk about kitchen table, yada, yada. And I don't understand why you're enabling weirdo rug pull meme coin economy and yelling at me, I got to talk about the kitchen table. There's no meme coins at my kitchen table. Zero. I can't. It's hard enough to get food to feed the family. I'm not going to risk it on crypto. And the idea that you need to make that easier to do. Everybody in crypto is a scammer. Everybody. Doesn't matter how.
And I turn around and say, look, he was not my first choice, but I have to point out to you the way things have worked out, including his own unique and not replicable political talents. Zoran Mamdani is talking about kitchen table issues. He's popular and he's going to win, and you haven't endorsed him yet, so shut up.
Right, another one of those. Not that way, you kind of things. Right, sure. You were just doing what you said, not because you said it, but because it happens. You too, like Trump, can occasionally find something that might make some sense and be right, but whatever, man. I don't know. Okay, well.
See, that's my Smirkanish message. You start finding good things to say about Mamdani, and I'll find some good things to say about Trump. You go first.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, why not? You seem like you're late to the show here. We've had Trump around for a long time. People have said many things about Donald Trump. Here's a new guy. What do you have to say about him? Oh, he's terrible. Okay, well then we won't be helping you out with the others. The other guy, the orange guy. He's on the roof, by the way. Have you noticed that?
No.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. Anything
you know
else
why
that
he's
needs to
up
be
there, right?
shoehorned in? No, I don't.
Tradition.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
It's the only reason.
There's nothing else. I've seen no reporting so far this morning, although it would take a lot to hammer through what we've been looking at, trying to explain that. He may have no explanation for it or not be ready to give the explanation, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm a little worried if he's up there doing the engineering on any sort of building addition, given the way he's been with dealing with percentages. I don't know if he could do the math behind load-bearing walls here, but still waiting. By the way, I did see something about in his brags about prescription drug prices coming down by an impossible 1,500%, which he keeps insisting is exactly what he means. I've been seeing some reporting that there are going to be some delays in these big price reductions that he keeps drumming on. Guess what? Maybe in just about 2 weeks or whatever, we're going to get around to having the actual plan. But also lots of reporting that the one big, beautiful bill garbage actually delays and exempts some of the most popular medications from this supposed program to bring the prices down. Like, we're going to bring some drug prices down, but if you need the drug and lots of people want it, those are the ones that are exempt.
Yeah, well, it's Trump, so you have to go back and see which of those companies contributed to his something.
Yes, and that'll explain a lot of it. And a lot of it was under Biden-backed legislation in the previous administration. They were slated to be among the drugs that Medicaid, Medicare could negotiate for lower prices on. And his bill, Trump's big, beautiful bill, actually reached in and took some of those off the list based on who was giving him money or buying Trump coin, I guess. So it ain't great. And also it's not happening. And of course you can't reduce a price by 1,500%. Although, if you want to subsidize things, I suppose that's possible. All right. Well, there's 0% more Wednesday left for us to talk, Greg. So I don't know. Anything you want to come back tomorrow?
I'd talk about it, but we're out of time.
That might be the big limitation on things. All right. Well, we're not at. I'll talk until the music goes. You see, and then there we go. Then we'll be out on time. All right. Any previews or teasers that we leave people on the edge of their seat about tomorrow? We don't know.
We'll talk about the Missouri plan.
Okay. Why not?
The governor wants to match Missouri's Christian conservative majority, said a spokesperson.
And he doesn't already.
I just thought you'd enjoy that, so I sent
sure.
it to you.
All right. Good luck, Christians. It's been tough for you lately in America, I'm sure.
Especially Missouri.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. And let's see what's happening here. Why do I see Pete Hegseth's stupid name on my screen? What's going on? It has something to do with the Confederacy, which I think is odd. Kevin Cruz is bringing this to my attention. Well, to everybody's attention. It wasn't exclusively directed at me, but what am I looking at here? I'm just curious because I have seen in the last day or so word that a statue to a Confederate general of some type, the racist type, that was torn down in protest at some point in the last couple of years, and I think in D.C., is, of course, because Donald Trump. Slated for replacement, because where do you want statues to those who rebelled against the authority of the United States government more than in the seat of the United States government? I'm not really sure why that's happening, but let's see. Kevin M. Levin, and I'm putting in the middle initial because if he pronounces his last name as Levin, you don't want to go around saying Kevin Levin. But that's why he likes to use his middle initial, I think. He could be Levine, I guess, but usually you see an E at the end of that. Silent E, Tom Lehrer would tell us. But he is a Boston-based historian, Civil War historian, and so I guess uniquely qualified. There are very few Civil War historians out there, but uniquely qualified to comment on this. Here, he says, is Pete Hegseth's tweet announcing the return of the Confederate monument. And I don't know if this is the one that we were talking about or not. I understood it to be inside D.C. proper, but I guess technically speaking, Arlington National Cemetery, for whatever reason, because it's a national cemetery, is sort of recognized maybe, well, it's federal property, certainly. Do they include it somehow in D.C. for governance purposes? I mean, it lies in Virginia, obviously. But anyway, here is Pete Hegseth's tweet about announcing the return of, I guess there once was one, a Confederate monument to Arlington National Cemetery. Which, of course, you know, people who know anything at all about Civil War history will remind you, the reason Arlington is a national cemetery, the reason there's a cemetery there is to stick a thumb in the eye of the Confederacy, right? Arlington was Robert E. Lee's estate. And basically as a, like we said, a thumb in the eye to the rebellion, they appropriated the property and said, we're going to start burying war dead on Robert Lee's front lawn. And now, of course, Arlington Cemetery. Kevin noting, it's important to point out that this monument was never referred to as a, quote, reconciliation monument. And we're not talking about congressional reconciliation here. But I guess that's supposed to be the idea that Hegseth is using to cover for. Well, we want to restore it because that brings about national reconciliation. But I don't think so, not according to the historians anyway. So Pete Hegseth says, I'm proud to announce that Moses Ezekiel's beautiful and historical sculpture, often referred to as the Reconciliation Monument, buzzer, no, apparently not, will be rightfully returned. Oh, well, it says, will be rightfully be returned. Aha. So a little scholarship shown here. Will be rightfully be returned to Arlington National Cemetery near his burial site. It never should have been taken down by, woke lemmings. And I'm a little late on the dramatic music, but imagine it happening because I'm getting tired of using it. Unlike the left, we don't believe in erasing history. We honor it, like January 6th. All right. Sure, you don't believe in erasing history. That's all you're doing. Anyway, I don't know. I found that somewhat interesting and a commentary on the state of things generally that might be of interest to some of you. And all right, now over to what I have stored away in Instapaper, which is wide and varied. Here's a Trump story, just to keep up with the madness, from the LA Times, and a reminder that this is happening and coming soon, and we need to be worried about it. The Olympic Games, slated to be hosted in the United States, in Los Angeles, in fact, for 2028, at which time it is said Donald Trump will survive his chronic health problems and still be president. Maybe. But also, you know, people pointing out the particular dangers of this. I'll read you the article first so to outline what those dangers are. But in addition to the dangers, I'll also add that people have been noting the State Department has been very tight-fisted in and appears to be targeting people in allowing visas to be issued for foreign athletes and athletic teams slated to come to competitions in the United States ahead of the Olympic Games, and has been getting in the way of that and causing problems and refusing visas to various participants, including, I believe, a Venezuelan Little League team set to participate in the Little League World Series. I mean, kids, for God's sake, right? Plus, just making things generally difficult for other athletes, and it's a bad portent for hosting not only the Olympics, but we're slated to host, in part, at least the World Cup. We've just hosted the Club World Cup competition and then watched Donald Trump steal the trophy that was supposed to be awarded to the winning team and forcing FIFA to give them a replica trophy. By the way, also saw some video circulate yesterday just prior to the fake trophy presentation necessitated by Trump's theft of the actual trophy, that the president of FIFA is showing him the medals that the individual players would be awarded to take back with them as a sign of their accomplishment, having won the tournament. And the idea then was supposed to, hey, look at this medal. This is what we're going to be giving them. Isn't that interesting? And then he's supposed to give it back to the FIFA president to go and present it to the players and do the trophy award, of course. But apparently Trump retains the medal ostensibly to examine it a little more closely. And as he's moving the ceremony along and to moving Trump to a different portion of the stage to do the trophy presentation, Trump pockets the medal. So he stole the trophy and he stole the medal. And then I was interested in that because just yesterday, as Trump is railing about he's going to make trouble for more people entering the country to participate in the Olympics, I didn't see what he was speaking about, but Aaron Rupar, of course, as always, captures this moment in which Trump is addressing his interest in, one, patrolling sports for transgender athletes, because that's the top priority for a president of the United States. Nuclear war, international intrigue, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But he's going to be patrolling the bathrooms to make sure no trans athletes sneak through. And that, too, is something. He does have that experience, patrolling the dressing rooms. So there's that. But he says, as he puts it, this is interesting. So he's going to protect women's sports as this is the disguise that they have for, this is their most successful, like culturally most successful attack on transgender rights. They get the most agreement from regular Americans who otherwise pretty much say, just let people do what they want to do and leave them alone if they leave you alone. They still get people to cross over to their position on the sports thing by saying, well, it's an unfair advantage. And, you can see where, without much of a deep dive into what's going on and what's really happening in the sports scene, it's easy to get people who aren't paying attention to anything and don't know the nuances or whatever, or the ins and outs of how things are regulated, to say, yeah, well, I don't want men participating in women's sports. So here he launches off of that. And he said, but he in particular says the United States will not, I guess I could play you the audio. I don't know how long it runs. And I've got it on the other disc. So 30 seconds. But all you really need to know is that in this clip, Trump says that the United States will not let men steal trophies from women at the 2028 Olympics. And, of course, you can't even finish the sentence without laughing because this guy just stole a trophy. He literally stole a trophy, days ago in full view of everyone. And, of course, people pointing out, yes, the Olympics, that famous trophy awarding event, the Olympics. We know what people win in the Olympics. They win medals. But don't worry, he also steals those. But he would say, well, I stole it from a man, so it doesn't count. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to have trouble leading into the Olympics, the World Cup. Plus, of course, we have to deal with our own, what was it? I forgot the word for 250th anniversary of 1776. There's a lot going on. Semi-quincentennial or something like that. Is that what it was? Half of 500 centennial. Got it. Anyway, the Olympics. He's about to ruin it. And here's how we know. The Los Angeles Times reports that Trump has named himself chair of an LA Olympics task force that he's announced, and lets everybody know that he sees a role for the military during the games. Hooray! Only look to the entire world. Like a world showcase is going to come to America and see that, yes, we're one of those places that has the armed forces patrolling the streets to keep the riffraff at bay. That's exactly what we want to show the world. And, of course, naming himself chair, not unlike naming himself chair of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And apparently also in the last couple of days, let me see if I can find a thing on that. floating the idea that maybe it needs a new name, this Kennedy Center. Maybe it should be the Donald Trump Center for the Performing Arts. Not my idea. I'm forcing members of Congress to introduce resolutions to that effect, and they are complying in that. And he thought also, by the way, the Opera House here at the Kennedy Center should be the Melania Trump Opera House. And just a nice suggestion, I think, to keep things moving along and pleasant for everyone. Anyway, here's the word from the LA Times, and I gotta open. I think we might be paywalled on this one, but I want to at least see Michael Wilner, Julia Wick, and pop-up got in the way of this one. I'm trying to credit the writers of the piece before it goes away, but it's hard to do. Julia Wick and and I'm trying to pronounce the name and view it, and the pop-up just makes it impossible. So unfortunately, our third writer here may have to wait for credit until a little later, unless you subscribe to the LA Times, and you can look it up. I apologize to our third author who just can't get in under the wire here, and I apologize to the LA Times for not subscribing to their wonderful paper. At any rate, Trump names himself chair of LA Olympics Task Force, sees role for military, during games. And that's not by winning medals. That's just suppressing people and making them depressed and compliant instead of enthusiastic and cheering wildly for the international spectacle of sport. In past Olympic Games held on American soil, sitting presidents, and this one is always sitting, have served in passive ceremonial roles. President Trump may have other plans. An executive order, or I would say a purported executive order, signed by Trump on Tuesday names him chair of a White House task force on the 2028 Games in Los Angeles, viewed by the president as, quote, a premier opportunity to showcase American exceptionalism. We are exceptional in how we suppress the populace with our armed forces. Isn't that great? This, according to a White House statement, Trump, the administration said, is taking every opportunity, well, the administration is saying this, they might not speak in his voice, taking every opportunity to showcase American greatness on the world stage, which is just what you want for an international gathering. Anyway, at the White House, speaking in front of banners, adding the presidential seal to the logo for LA 28. How do you like that? Adding the presidential seal to their hard-won and crafted logo. I'm sure the graphic artists are happy about that one. Trump said he would send the military back to Los Angeles if he so chose. I like that, huh? If I so choose. In order to protect the games. And you want protection for the games, obviously. But usually not an overtly military operation, and not really a if I so choose kind of thing. You say if necessary. I mean, we're taking precautions, obviously, to keep the visitors and athletes safe, but not if I so choose. In June, Trump sent the National Guard, of course, and the U.S. Marines to the city amid widespread immigration enforcement actions, despite widespread condemnation from Mayor Karen Bass and other local officials. We'll do anything necessary to keep the Olympics safe, and everybody assumes that, including using our National Guard or military, okay? He said, I will use the National Guard or the military. This is going to be so safe. If we have to. All right, so he already understands that, hey, actually, this looks pretty dumb and like I'm scared already, and I shouldn't say this. Trump's executive order establishes a task force led by him and Vice President J.D. Vance, in case a cheeseburger kills me, to steer federal coordination for the games. The task force will work with federal, state, and local partners on security and transportation, according to the White House. Those roles have been fairly standard for the federal government in past U.S.-hosted Olympic Games, but Trump's news conference could present questions about whether a president with a penchant for showmanship might assume an unusually active role in planning the Olympics, set to take place in the twilight of his final term. And would this extend beyond awarding him an honorary gold medal, or him perhaps stealing some number of gold medals right off the top. Surely Eric and Don Jr. will want one. Melania will want one. What's my other kids' names? Yeah, right. They'll want some too. You never know. Ivanka, my favorite, will get 10, 15, 20 of them if she wants. All right. Well, anyway, he'll obviously be glorifying himself. There is an ample precedent for military and National Guard forces providing security support during U.S.-hosted Olympic Games. But coming on the heels of the recent military deployments in L.A., Trump's comments may prove contentious. Like, there's always been a military presence behind the security, but they remain behind the scenes. You want to try and keep it civilian looking. It looks like, you're in control of your country. And of course, it's there to, counteract a possible terrorist type situation, as opposed to suppressing the locals for whatever reason. That's not what they're usually supposed to be brought out for. Not something you want to show the rest of the world. French President Emmanuel Macron was a key figure in preparations for last year's Paris Games, including expressing his vocal support for the ambitious Olympic opening ceremony plan to parade athletes down the Seine River on boats. Many officials were concerned about potential threats along the 3.7-mile stretch, but authorities responded by increasing security measures that included up to 45,000 police officers and 10,000 soldiers. The task force, to be housed within the Department of Homeland Security, will, quote, assist in the planning and implementation of visa processing, and credentialing programs for foreign athletes, coaches, officials, and media personnel, the executive order said. City officials have expressed concern that the president's border policies could deter international visitors and complicate visa processing for Olympic teams. There are a lot of athletes, at least in the run-up to the Olympics, literally afraid to attend competitions in the United States, or who are just prevented from doing so outright. Even those who aren't prevented from doing so come with some trepidation, because they definitely have snatched some people up at the airports, even on their way in for international conferences, competitions, etc. already. More concentrated involvement from Trump could spell further strain with Los Angeles city officials who sought to make nice in the wake of devastating January fires, but have fiercely bucked Trump's recent immigration offensive. Trump swiped at Bass, the mayor, during his remarks on Tuesday, calling her not very competent and criticizing the pace of city permitting for fire rebuilding. Really not a federal, or certainly not presidential, issue. We've had a productive working relationship with the federal government since Los Angeles was awarded the games in 2017, and we will continue preparing with all partners to host the best games in history, games that will benefit the entire nation for decades to come, Bass spokesperson Zach Seidel, I don't know, S-E-I-D-L, said. Known for her coalition-building skills, Bass is not by nature a public brawler. Oh well. In the aftermath of the Palisades fire, she appeared determined to preserve her fragile relationship with the president and the billions of dollars of federal aid her city was depending on, responding diplomatically even as he publicly attacked her. But that determined cordiality crumbled when masked immigration agents and military personnel descended on the city. With troops stationed at the city and U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement and other federal authorities arresting undocumented immigrants at courthouses, car washes, Home Depot parking lots, etc., Bass took on Trump forcefully. At news conferences and in an interview, she accused the president of waging an all-out assault on Los Angeles, inciting chaos and fear, and using the city as a test case for an extremist agenda. Casey Wasserman, chairman of LA 28, the actual chair of the organization, attended the White House event, thanking Trump for leaning in to planning for an Olympics that was awarded to Los Angeles during his first term. You've been supportive and helpful every step of the way, Wasserman said, noting that the games would amount to hosting 7 Super Bowls a day for 30 days. With the creation of this task force, we've unlocked the opportunity to level up our planning and deliver the largest and, yes, greatest games for our nation ever. Wasserman will also have a delicate political balancing act, managing games in a deep blue city with a famously mercurial Republican president in office. And here is, I think, Trump holding a sample set of the medals that will be awarded at the games. And naturally, he'll be keeping those, I'm sure. Does the caption say anything about it? Oh, this is actually a full set of the medals from the 1984 Olympics, previously held, obviously, because 1984, in Los Angeles, during which he announced an executive order regarding this federal involvement in the 28 games. And so I guess he's probably keeping those too. This does say, though, LA 28 on the box, but the caption says they're the 1984 medals, even though, I don't know, I don't know if I remember what those looked like and what the ribbons looked like, but why they're in the LA 28 box, I don't know. You'd think one side would say LA 84 and the others would say LA 28 if it was something like this. But okay. A Hollywood scion and sports entertainment mogul, Wasserman has long been a prominent Democratic donor known for his close relationship with the Clintons. But in recent months, he has diversified his giving with hefty donations to the National Republican Senatorial Committee, boo, the National Republican Congressional Committee, boo, and House Speaker Mike Johnson's Leadership Fund, boo, 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 and Mike Flood. Wasserman has publicly praised Trump's commitment to the games. And remember, it's dangerous to praise Trump. And he's traveled to Perva-Lago in January to meet with the then incoming president. Presidents have long played a role in the games. In 1984, Ronald Reagan formally opened the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, and that's normal, becoming the first American president to do so. So it wasn't normal for Americans with the Olympics, but it is at that point in 84. Well, I guess Lake Placid Olympics would have happened in 1980. It would have been Jimmy Carter. Did he not open the games? I don't know. Well, prior to that, I don't know when the next previous Olympic Games in the United States, was that also Los Angeles? Didn't they host the games like in the 30s? Did the United States might have hosted a Winter Olympics in between then at Lake Placid? I don't know. Maybe not. So there might not be a lot of history to draw on there. And the Olympics wasn't what it was what it has become at that time. Anyway, the Olympic charter. Oh, there's a little bit more here. Reagan attended several Olympic events, but repeatedly emphasized the federal government's role was focused on security, according to the White House Historical Association. The Olympic Charter requires the host country's head of state to officially open the games. But before Reagan, the duty had been fulfilled by local political leaders or vice presidents representing the president. The federal government has historically provided significant funding when the games are hosted on U.S. soil, with financial support going toward both security and infrastructure. Leading up to the 1996 games in Atlanta, the federal government spent $227 million on security and transportation, playing very much a junior partner to the Olympic Committee, then Vice President Al Gore said at the time. Still, a bombing at the Centennial Olympic Park during the games that summer shook the security establishment. The 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City were the first games to be classified as a national special security event, the government's highest security rating for any event that designates the U.S. Secret Service as the lead agency for implementing security. That standard has remained in place for the U.S.-held Olympic Games ever since. The Secret Service will also lead security coordination for the 2028 Games. The federal government was particularly involved in the Salt Lake City Games, which were held just months after the 9/11 attacks. Los Angeles leaders are actively involved in the security planning and are currently in negotiations with LA 28 for the use of the city's police, traffic officers, and other employees during the Olympics and Paralympics. Security, trash removal, traffic control, paramedics, and more will be needed during the 17-day Olympics and the 2-week Paralympics the following month under the 2021 Games agreement between LA 28 and the city. LA 28, that's the Olympic Organizing Committee, obviously, must reimburse Los Angeles for any services that go beyond what the city would provide on a normal day. So that's a lot. The two parties must agree by October 1st of this year on enhanced services, additional city services needed for the games beyond that of the normal level, and determine the rates, repayment timelines, audit rights, and other processes. Overtime for LA police officers and any other major expenses would be acutely felt by a city government that recently closed a nearly $1 billion budget deficit, in part by slowing police hiring. So they got their work cut out for them. Right. And I know that was a little bit longer and maybe a little bit more involved than we thought we'd want to get on the LA Olympics. And we really wanted to kind of focus, though, on the fact that he's naming himself as the head of this task force, but also remind everybody of the ceremonial role of the president in opening the games and how he was likely to take some advantage of that, possibly. And on Blue Sky this morning, Anil Kalhan has pointed out through the use of the New York Times archives, as he names himself LA Olympics Chairforce, we're reminded that in October of 1935 we learned that the games would center Adolf Hitler. He did the same thing. Hi, everybody. It's me, David Waldman. Yes, the same guy who interrupts you all the time. Interrupting you one more time just to tell you again, another reminder that your contributions are what keep this show on the air, and Patreon.com, Patreon.com, is still among the easiest ways to make the sustaining subscription donations that keep us afloat. Are you ready for the pep talk about how our Patreon campaign is still going strong and growing? Well, too bad. Yeah, the plain fact is we actually are headed in the wrong direction, and whereas we once had about 175 monthly patrons, we're now actually down below 150. Time to recruit some more. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. For those of you in a position to support the show, Patreon.com does make it easy to make those secure, recurring monthly contributions to do so. Patreon.com/KagroX gets you straight to our donation page. We've been through a lot together. The worst of the pandemic, we hope. The worst of the insurrection, we hope. So go ahead and treat yourself. You don't need an excuse. Give yourself the gift of a little something you enjoy in life. Support the show. And of course, if you happen to prefer using PayPal or even the Square Cash app, we're up and running on those options too. So thanks again, everyone, for all your support. We couldn't, or at least shouldn't, do it without you. Hope you'll be on board soon too. Thanks for all your support. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to take a look here and see if I can find the Olympics by city, perhaps in Wikipedia, because our good social media friend and listener, Ad Karatic, reminds us of Lake Placid likewise hosting the Winter Olympics in 1932. So let's see, I'm just sort of thinking back, but LA hosted the Olympics at some point in the same era, as I recall. And I'm not, let's see. I'm going to look back here. Lake Placid and Los Angeles. Yeah, Lake Placid and Los Angeles, both 1932. So same time frame, just in terms of, I guess that would be the previous most recent. Oh, well, there was the Winter Olympics in Squaw Valley, which I hope has been renamed since then, and I'm not certain whether they ever got around to that one. But that's the name under which it was operating at the time. 1960 Winter Games as well. Then the 1980 Games in Lake Placid, 84 in Los Angeles. They almost coincided again there on that one. But anyway, and the pace has only picked up since then, I guess. But I guess that would be the next most frequent. And by the way, Salt Lake City slated again to host the Winter Games in 2034. So there's definitely a roster of cities that they keep going around and around to. All right. I just find that interesting. Let's see. Los Angeles in 1928 will be the third Olympics. And that's the number. That's the record so far. London has 3. Los Angeles has 3. Paris has 3. So just of some interest. Anyway, as we were saying, this is also of some interest because there's some historical parallel as we slide into authoritarianism. The New York Times of October 23rd, 1935, reporting, I don't know what the big headline was here, but the subheader seems to say, Center of Stage for Hitler. Opening of games arranged to give him a leading role. Dateline Berlin here. Chancellor Adolf Hitler will play the leading role at the opening of next year's Olympics in Berlin, when athletes from all over the world have been assembled in the polo field. How do you like that? Just outside the main stadium, the president of the International Olympic Committee and the It goes on from there, but that's all that's in the screen grab. But just sort of wink, wink, and making the parallel. Trump, and of course, the fact that Trump named himself to it is just, that much more interesting. I see. All right. Well, of some interest, to be sure. All right. Let's see. Other things to catch up on. I'll jump out of the Olympic mode for just a moment and see what else I have put aside here. Some of these things need to be opened up in order for me to figure out what this is. Yes. Okay. This is a story I think we're going to need to do a little bit of catching up on and reading about, because something has happened here that I haven't quite caught up on, but it sounds like, and this kind of broke for me late at night after, kind of closing down the shop for a little while, but it turns out that the other dodgy boy, most famous dodgy boy besides Luke Farrador, who we've been reading about for so long, Big Balls, what's his name? Is it like Edward Korestein? Is that right? Is in the news, and seems he's gotten himself in the news. He's always in the news for bad things, but apparently the victim of a apparent carjacking, either in the district or just outside the district. I actually don't know if I have a report about this. Let's see. Korestein is his actual name, right? And I'll see if I can find something, because there's some dispute about exactly what happened and how to characterize it. And what ended up happening was, here, I'll grab it from The Hill, because they know about how we're going to approach the story, I guess, from the political aspect angle of things. 2 15-year-olds apparently have been arrested in connection with dodgy staffer, whom we know as Big Balls, beating in D.C. Yikes. And it prompted some speculation, just because the first word that came across the social media wires, I guess, was that he had been beaten up by somebody. And, without any more information, it's like, well, gee whiz, who would want to beat up the dodgy boys who destroyed so many lives and so many careers and perhaps killed so many millions of people around the world? Who would ever want to beat those guys up? But as it turns out, it's the people who usually want to beat just about anybody up. But that has only fed into Donald Trump's narrative, such that he is saying, well, crime is out of control. And now he's saying, I want to federalize D.C. I'm going to take it over, which they already have too much control over D.C. as it is, because it's the seat of government and no local control over. There is, of course, home rule in the form of the mayor and council, but everything can be overridden and is frequently interfered with by Congress. Now he's saying, well, we'll do it even more because they were targeted, because crime is out of control, even though, of course, it's dropping. And whatever. But anyway, 2 15-year-olds have been arrested apparently in connection with this crime, says Sarah Fortinsky of The Hill. 2 teenagers arrested in connection to the attempted carjacking of a former Dodgy staffer, now embedded elsewhere, I think at the Department of Transportation, if I remember correctly. We're talking, of course, about the staffer known far and wide as Big Balls. So, what can I tell you? You chose it, and now nobody can take your victimhood seriously. Authorities said the 15-year-old suspects who were charged with unarmed carjacking were among several teens who allegedly approached the victim, Edward Korstein, and a woman police identified as his significant other, near a car around 3 a.m. Sunday in Washington's Logan Circle neighborhood. Now, conservatives like myself would say, what were you doing out in the middle of Logan Circle in the middle of the night? 3 a.m., all respectable people have long since retired to bed for the evening, but not you. Well, sure, shouldn't you be able to walk anywhere safely at any time? Yes, certainly. But don't conservatives always say, well, where are the parents? Or something like that. And all of this, what are you doing out? It's your right, but I will point out that had it been anybody else, conservatives and probably Korstein himself would have said this. Just wondering. The group allegedly made comments about taking the car before Korstein pushed his significant other into the vehicle for safety. Okay. And prepared to confront the group, according to police. And I guess Big Balls at this point in his life pretty much thinks he can do just about anything and that he's maybe invulnerable and is Superman. Law enforcement officials said Korstein turned to face the teenagers and several of them attacked him until police patrolling the area intervened. So, like it's supposed to be. The group fled on foot when police approached, authorities said. Korstein, a 19-year-old software engineer, was among the most visible figures associated with President Trump's dodgy effort aimed at slashing government spending and eliminating waste in the federal bureaucracy. Tech billionaire Elon Musk, who was the chief advisor to Dodgy before his special employee period lapsed in May, confirmed the attack on a post on the social platform X, which he owns, in which he says, a few days ago, a gang of about a dozen, maybe, young men tried to assault a woman in her car at night in D.C., Musk said in the post. A Dodgy team member saw what was happening, ran to defend her, and was severely beaten to the point of concussion, but he saved her. That's according to Elon Musk. I don't know if that's exactly how it went down. I guess you could imagine it maybe being him walking her to her car, which would be a wise thing to do. But it wasn't. I mean, what this sort of portrays, what Musk said, was that a unknown woman was just trying to make her way to her car, and an assault took place, and brave, Dodgy, Big Balls guy ran into her defense and, was assaulted as a result. But in fact, appears that they were together. It doesn't make his idea of defending himself any worse at that point. But it's not a roving Dodgy member being a vigilante crime fighter or anything like that. And with Trump saying, well, I'm going to use this to federalize D.C. because crime is out of control. It's like the attack takes place and police broke it up because they were there on patrol, which is what they're supposed to be doing. So what's the need for the federalization? Nothing, of course. The attack has given new fuel to the president, who has frequently threatened to take control of the nation's capital throughout his second term. Trump on Tuesday called for the District of Columbia to change its laws to allow for teenagers 14 and older to be prosecuted as adults and face lengthy prison sentences. How do you like that? The guys who did it were 15, and now they fall under his claim of jurisdiction here. He shared on Truth Social a graphic image of the bloodied former Dodgy employee. Oh, I should go looking for that one. But did not name Korstein, and included a lengthy message attacking violent crime in Washington. Trump blamed the city's crime on local, quote, Utes, to you and me, who he said were not fearful of consequences. They are not afraid of law enforcement, even though what happened? Law enforcement showed up, they ran away, but they're not afraid because they just like running. Because they know nothing ever happens to them, but it's going to happen now, the president wrote. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these quote, minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. But it's teenage on teenage crime. When you get right down to it, he's 19 years old. No one should be beaten, and we don't like that. But the idea that this is, rampant crime out of control, and where were the police? They were right there. They broke it up. Then they're not afraid of police, but they ran away because of other reasons. And what can I tell you? So it's interesting that he seemed to ignore that. Maybe he didn't know that it was one of the dodgy boys. Washington, D.C. must be clean, safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, for the world to see, Trump added. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run, and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore, as these didn't. D.C. crime down 35% in 2024 from the previous year, marking a 30-year low. Data from the district show violent crime is also down so far in 2025 compared with the previous year, and I'm sure he'll be grabbing credit for that one. But just to let you know, crime is rampant, but it's actually lower than it's ever been. You were handed crime lower than it had ever been, and it has only decreased from there. Clearly, we need to do something about this. All right. Well, it is of some interest because the dodgy boys were involved. And so, I don't know. We'll try and catch up on that one and see where that goes. And keep an eye on the federalization claims. I did put aside, if I still have it. Do I have it readily available? Well, not as readily as I'd like, but I'll go and grab it. But I saw some interesting points being made on Blue Sky yesterday regarding this idea of federalizing police operations in D.C. Mike the Mad Biologist, who many of you may also follow on Blue Sky, had posted this. Let's see, he took Civic Tracker's screen grab of Trump's Truth Social post and said, here's Trump saying he might federalize D.C. And Mike says, this is a crazy old man yelling at the TV machine, but he has the power to federalize D.C.'s police, but for 48 hours on his own. So it's a limited ability, but after that, he can write a letter to Congress justifying the state of emergency. There isn't one, but he could claim one, and can extend that then. Congress can extend it for 30 more days. This is yet another reason why D.C. needs statehood, so that this sort of thing can't happen to them on a whim. After 32 days, he continues, federal control requires an act of Congress. The letter could be challenged in court, and probably would be. The purpose of the law is, ironically, to allow a federal takeover in case of civil unrest, like, let's say, an insurrection, for instance, not to deal with what you think is rising crime, which is in fact plummeting crime. Or, again, the better point to take away from all of this is basically, people, it's a city. People get assaulted. We don't want it. We try to fight it. And in fact, they have been doing that. And crime is down, violent crime down 35%, as they mentioned. But a Republican got attacked. One of our guys got it. And once again, Republicans only respond to crime or any other issue when one of their own becomes the victim. They have no empathy for anybody else. But one of our guys got attacked. Well, we're going to federalize the city. That's the only way to deal with it. All right. I thought that was of some interest. And of course, there's a process story to it too. And so now it's just that much more interesting for us. Okay. Let's see. Here's something to go to the international trade part of our show, I guess. We've been making frequent mention that nobody seems to have any written instruments about any of these so-called trade deals. And of course, we've been mentioning to you that maybe it's not even the right word to call it a trade deal or even a trade agreement, as other people have pointed out. If you have the two parties to this purported agreement disagreeing about what the terms are, well, then there's no agreement. It's not a deal. It's not an agreement. It's not anything. There would certainly be no contract between the parties if you were looking at it that way. But I mean, if you disagree, how is it that you write the story of the disagreement up in the framework of there's an agreement? No, the story is that there's not an agreement. That is very weird. And it's a bit of built-in sane washing, I guess, for all of what's going on. But here's the latest element of that disagreement that comes from Bloomberg. One of the things Trump has been saying he was going to do was that he was going to basically strong-arm Japan into allowing more imports of American cars. There's not a lot of call in the Japanese market for American cars. American cars are big and hard to park, and the Japanese market favors the small car, probably for that reason. Probably some greater interest in, they just think Japanese products are, tailored to their tastes and made better, is what they believe, and that American cars are, well, at the minimum, made, even if they're beautifully made for an American market and an American transportation infrastructure that doesn't exist in Japan. It's very difficult to park in the cities of Japan, I'm sure, and doing it in a gigantic Ford F-150 pickup truck, that much more difficult. I'm sure that there are some Japanese farms where an F-150 might be at home, but how big is that market? Well, I don't know, but it doesn't matter because Trump says Japan is gonna import Ford's massive F-150 pickup trucks. The Bloomberg News folks are reporting. I've only got a snippet of it, but it is kind of funny, being accompanied with the picture of the rather gigantic red Ford F-150 and thinking about driving one of those around and parking it in Tokyo. It seems to make no sense, but there you have it. Donald Trump said Japan would accept imports of Ford's huge F-150 pickup trucks in the latest sign that the two countries are at odds. What? Well, yeah. Why? Because they have an agreement, but they're in disagreement about this part of the agreement too. What do you know? Trump says they're taking these pickup trucks. Japan says, what? No, we didn't agree to that. That's right. The latest sign that the two countries are at odds in their understanding of a trade agreement, which is a disagreement, the U.S. president announced last month, just at the end of last month. It's only a couple of days since he did it. His comments came as Tokyo's top negotiator headed to Washington, once again, to press the Trump administration to follow through on a pledge to reduce tariffs on cars and car parts to 15% from the current crippling 27.5%. Well, that is really something. So the president announced, we're going to lower our tariffs, and in exchange, they're going to take our trucks. What? No, not only did we not agree to take the trucks, but you said that you were going to reduce the tariffs to 15%, and you haven't. You're just leaving them at 27.5%. God only knows whether anybody's collecting anything on any of this. We'll never find out about that. But, so that Trump can claim, we got $170 bazillion trillion from the things. We're doing great. Can I see the accounting? No, you can't. You won't understand it anyway. It's very complicated. Only a businessman like me will understand it. So, once again, a supposed agreement that, in fact, we are in disagreement about the fundamentals of, leading us back to the problem of dealing with this administration in the major media, right? They said they were negotiating a trade agreement. That's what comes out of trade talks, agreements, right? That's a normal thing to have emerge from there. So that's what we'll be writing our story about. Besides which, the administration, and they were wearing suits and ties when they did it, told us there was an agreement. Nobody knew what the terms were, and neither side would actually acknowledge that they had agreed to anything. But, an agreement nonetheless. All right. Let's see. I will add this to the mix today. I'm going to try and clear out some of the things that have been waiting in pocket, but there's so many more buried. But this, I think, probably would be a good use of the remaining time for today's show. Some of the fallout from the Justice Department, of all people, having dealt with the courts in such bad faith recently. And you should listen to this keeping in mind that the Justice Department is at the same time as they're doing all this stuff, which is undermining their credibility with judges, the federal judiciary. They are also now pursuing a complaint against Judge Boasberg for essentially saying that he was worried about the possibility of what is now being openly discussed in this article. So they've asked judges, who now judges have to remain anonymous, when they say, I've lost faith in the previous assumption that I should be crediting the Department of Justice when they appear before me with dealing with us in good faith. I no longer feel like that's warranted. But the last judge who basically said that now has a federal complaint filed against him for undermining everything, not only the executive branch, which comes and argues before him, but the judiciary itself, according to the complaint, is now being undermined for not believing the people who they've come to the conclusion aren't telling them the truth. It's a little weird. Judges openly doubt government. Apparently some people are still willing to do it. Openly doubt government as Justice Department misleads and dodges orders. Wow. That's pretty much what Boasberg was worried was going to happen. This is the headline in the New York Times from August 4th. Alan Feuer, the writer behind it, and I guess now he's under arrest for undermining the integrity of the judiciary. Subheader says legal experts say the actions causing concern from the bench could have a more systemic effect, eroding the healthy functions of the courts. We've noted a number of times in a number of contexts how important it is and how common and pervasive it is in our judicial system to assume that the government is dealing in good faith with the cases before it and is not faking its evidence, and that these presumptions that are sort of built in have been built in over the years based on this generalized understanding that, well, the government's not going to come in and just make up crap and cite AI garbage to us, for instance. But now they are. And with a political agenda, it makes it very difficult to know how to proceed because the traditions are stood on their heads. Justice Department lawyers have long enjoyed a professional benefit when they appear in court as a general rule. Judges tend to take them at their word and assume they are telling the truth. But in the past several months, as members of President Trump's Justice Department have repeatedly misled the courts, violated their orders, and demonized judges who have ruled against them, including the people who say this is what's going on, some jurists have started to show an angry loss of faith in the people and the institution they once believed in most. The dissolution of these traditional bonds of trust, known in legal circles as the presumption of regularity, goes well beyond judges' use of blunt words like egregious, brazen, and lawless to describe the various parts of Mr. Trump's power-grabbing policy agenda. Ultimately, legal experts say the actions that caused such doubts among judges about the department and those who represent it could have a more systemic effect and erode the healthy functioning of the courts. And you should also keep in mind, by the way, that there are Trumpy judges who will now simply say, well, it's always been the tradition to just believe the government when they speak. Like, for instance, Emile Beauvais will have no problem with it, even though he led the Trump Justice Department effort to mislead and defy the courts. But now he will be part of the court. And he'll say, you're probably not misleading me or defying me. You're free to go. Anyway, back to people who actually are normal. I think people don't fully appreciate how much the ability of the legal system to work on a daily basis rests on the government's credibility, says Stephen Vladeck. We know him, a Georgetown University law professor. Without that credibility, it's going to be harder for the government to do anything in court, even ordinary things. Like even when they're not doing power grabs, they're just trying to make the trains run on time. They're not going to be able to do it. Oh, well. Hope that has no economic impact. All of a sudden, you're going to have courts second-guessing things that they wouldn't have before, like, is this signature genuine? Did you do the paperwork? Is this research real? Are you telling me the truth? While it is impossible to know for sure how deeply this distrust has set in among judges across the country, a number of judges in recent weeks have openly questioned the fundamental honesty and credibility of Justice Department lawyers in ways that would have been unthinkable only months ago. In June, for instance, an order was unsealed in federal district court in Washington showing Magistrate Judge Zia M. Faruqi ripping into prosecutors after they tried to convince him that he needed to be highly deferential to their request to keep sealed a search warrant in an ordinary criminal case. Blind deference to the government, Judge Faruqi wrote, that is no longer a thing. Trust that has been earned over generations has been lost in weeks. After all, as the judge pointed out, Justice Department lawyers under Mr. Trump have done much to destroy the confidence normally afforded them in court. They have fired prosecutors who have worked on Mr. Trump's 2 criminal cases, he said. They have attacked the charges brought against the rioters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th as a witch hunt, and they have violated judicial orders in cases stemming from Mr. Trump's deportation policies and from his efforts to freeze federal grants. These norms being broken must have consequences, Judge Faruqi concluded. High deference is out, trust but verify is in. Why even trust? Well, they don't want to go crazy, right? All of this echoed the explosive remarks made from the bench last month by Judge Paula Exinas, right? Who lashed out at the Justice Department during a hearing in the case of Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, the immigrant wrongfully deported to El Salvador in March. Before that hearing in federal district court in Maryland, Judge Exinas had spent weeks trying to get the department to comply with her orders in the case and then to answer questions about why they had been flouted in the first place. She finally lost all patience after some of the same lawyers failed to give her a straight answer about what the administration planned to do with Mr. Abrego Garcia after he was brought back from El Salvador to face criminal charges. This has been the process from day one, Judge Exinas told the lawyers. You have taken the presumption of regularity and you've destroyed it, in my view. There's much more to the article, of course. Wanted to start getting it on the record. Time now, though, for Justice Putnam to take the wheel.
From networksradio.com, you have been listening to Kagro in the Morning with David Walton.
So where will Justice be steering us today? Well, starting off in the Bistro Cafe, U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett breaks down gerrymandering, gaslighting, and Tulane. So we'll be hearing from Jasmine on that. Jasmine, like I'm her good buddy, Congresswoman Crockett. Thank you very much, and you're welcome too. We'll see you tomorrow.